the people who, like I am going to hold back a good old-fashioned talk radio rant against the people who are even suggesting anything about John driving right now. Give us a break, please. And that's all I will say. However, I did say there's a lot of information. And Alan, you told me right before the show, like some questions can be answered here on WFO radio. Like Robert has this one. He goes, have they released a reason why the parachutes did not open on John's car yet? This is something that everybody wanted to know 1 minute later, right? Like, wow. Well, it sounds like you can share something.
I can. I spoke to Lonnie Grimm pretty extensively a week or so ago, and that was one of the questions. The investigation starts immediately after any incident like that. What worked? What didn't work? Could we maybe do something better? Is there a rule? Is there a manufacturing change? Is there a something that we can do to try to make the next incident like this better? And why the parachutes didn't come out was a big question. And I spoke to Lonnie a little bit. They were able to determine very, very clearly why the parachutes didn't come out. Once that determination was made, the information was shared with the people who need to know, and that is people who race funny cars. This is what we found. This is the problem. Take a look at your car. See if there's something you can do. See if there's some way that you can potentially come up with a better system. And as happens so many times when we have an incident like this, it's something that's never happened before. So you look at the system and you think, okay, well, the system, this is the way the system is designed. This is the way the system works. The system has performed flawlessly. So is there a need to update it? Well, now they found something that maybe there's a way to do it better. It's certainly being looked at. The bottom line is the system works pretty simply, and simple is better. The Leahy safety system on the box gets triggered one of three different ways. It can be triggered by the RF at the finish line. It could be triggered if it senses an engine issue, whether that be a pan pressure, whether that be a blower backfire, whether it will trigger the system. The system immediately sends a signal, opens a solenoid, sends a shot of air to an air cylinder, and an air cylinder operates and pulls the parachutes out. And I mean, milliseconds is how long this takes from the time it triggers until the time it happens. The parachute levers that the driver reaches, okay, let's say the levers are here, and at the end of the run, the driver will reach up and he'll just push the levers forward, and that brings the chutes out. Now, the air cylinder, the way that JFR had it set, the air cylinder is mounted here, and there's a piece of wire that runs from here to here. Simple as that. When the air cylinder is triggered, it pulls back. When it pulls the handles, it drops the parachutes. Again, simple is best. The more complicated you try to make it, the more things could go wrong. In this instance, when the engine exploded, in the milliseconds between when the system triggered and sent the signal, and the system did trigger, and the system did send the signal, and the air cylinder did activate. But in the split second, while all this was going on, the area between the two was compromised. So now the levers are so much closer that when the cylinder activated, it didn't pull far enough to get the parachute wires to come out of the pack, because this area of the car was compromised. So the cylinder was closer to levers, and therefore when the cylinder activated, it just simply didn't have enough pull. Never happened before. And we've seen how many times where, something blows up, even when the body blows off or those things happen. So once that was determined, they went to the race teams, all the funny car teams, who are the people who need to know. I know that there's plenty of fans that are like, well, we want to know. I understand you want to. The people that need to know are the people that race funny cars. And they went to them and said, here's what we found. You need to look at your system. There is no black and white rule for how this works. Okay. There are a couple of teams that do it in different ways. It's just that when this triggers, it must deploy the parachutes. So they went to the teams and said, this is what we found. You need to take a look at your car. You need to see if there's anything that you could potentially do that you could change. Will there be a rule coming down, a mandate coming down? I don't know that. Lonnie said he didn't know that at the time. Again, you're dealing with a system that's never failed before. They just found a failure. So what can be done going forward? Is there a rule that needs to be made? Or do you just tell the teams, hey, we found this. This is a potential failure, and let them decide what's best for their driver, for their car. All of these race teams have got some pretty smart people. And I think personally, if you go to them and say, here's the problem, find a solution, that's better than just one person saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. Sometimes the solution is black and white, right? Sometimes it's simple. We are going to weld a bar in here, or we are going to put a shield on here. Sometimes it's better, I think, to let the really smart people figure out what would be the best going forward. And again, we've had one failure in how many times over the years. So they will look at it, and if there's a better mousetrap, so to speak, then that's what they're going to take a look at. And that's what they'll do next. But that is the reason that the parachutes didn't come out on John's car.
And there you have it.